morning, friends. Better. Happy Sunday. Hey, Ravenfire, how are you? Welcome in, welcome in. Alright, just gonna set up here. Happy Sunday, how are you doing today? Good morning, hey Cool Sword, how are you? How's your weekend going? How's everyone feeling? Here we are. Cool. That's all set. Going okay. Okay, good. Yeah, I don't know. This weekend. I don't know if it's felt like a weekend. Just kind of been like working all weekend, just like it's a weekday, but it's okay. Not working too hard. I got up early to be ready for this stream. Oh, I enjoy this time. It makes the rest of my day go well. I'm so humbled and honored that that's true. I'm really glad. Thank you so much for joining today. All right, well let's get set up. Cause I haven't like even rolled my yoga mat out or anything yet. My neck and hey Cool Sword says neck and shoulders are very tight. The right side of my jaw has been sore for a few weeks now. All right, so we're definitely doing some neck and shoulder stuff today. Gladly, always down to do neck and shoulder work. Let's see if we can loosen that up and help you out. Oh, I missed you last week, hey Cool Sword. How was the Ren Fair? So I'm just rolling out a yoga mat. You're welcome to roll out a yoga mat if you have one as well. If not, just a towel or just clearing some space in the place that you're practicing is going to be your best bet. Just so you have space, you're not going to like bump into a chair or anything. Even if you don't have a mat, you can still make it work. It was nice. We got to see some dudes in armor hit each other. Yes, in solid. I mean, that is like standard. Proper Red Fair form, isn't it? So, good. I'm glad that's happening again. And then I just like having a blanket or a towel or a block, just something to like sit on. Laura 4444, good morning. Hello, hello. How are you today? So we had a request, I think just before you popped into the room, for neck and shoulders. So we already have that in, but anybody else that wants to drop in request or recommendation into the chat, I'll do my best to work into that area. So if you have one of these, I've heard them called Mexican blankets, but Pat and I bought ours at a reservation in Oklahoma, so I always think of that. There's a trick to folding them. So you just fold them like fringe to fringe, right? So it's like all the way open. You go fringe to fringe. This is how you keep your yoga studio organized. All right. Fringe to fringe. And then you go, right. And then you hold the folded side and fold in half. Then you fold in half this way. Nope, that's not true. Then you fold in half once more. And then you fold, finish to fold. Then when you stack them on the shelf, only the nice round folded edge is on the outside. Okay. That's just like a little side thing, but it's so nice to have like 20 of those like stacked up nice next to one another. I need like a place to put my tea. So grab your water, grab your tea, your yoga mat, your blankets. So good to have you guys here. So what is here? Who am I? What are we doing? So my name's Samala, and we will be doing all levels meditation and yoga practice. It's okay if you've never practiced with us before, if you're new to yoga or any of that jazz. You're welcome here. You're always welcome to drop questions into the chat. I do my best to explain every movement and why we're doing it to the best of my ability, but I'm always down to clarify as things progress and questions are asked. We'll start with a seated guided meditation. Just get grounded, and we'll get into movement, which will be yoga poses you probably recognize, maybe some things that are new to you, some joint resiliency and lymphatic shaking, breath work, and then we'll end with a shavasana, which is a final reclining meditation. So no worries on how on that, and like if reclining on the floor is not your jam, you can also do it seated. I'll play crystal singing bowls for you. Evolve Yourself TV, good morning. How's it going today? So far, it is going great. How about yourself? I was just explaining kind of the layout of class so that people kind of know what we're gonna do today. So I'm well. Good. I'm glad that you're well. On that note, we don't need music to practice. Let's find ourselves a comfortable seated position. Yeah, I'll just move back a little. So what I did with that folded blanket is I'm just going to sit up top, like place my hips on top, and let my feet come off the edge. So there's just a little bit of elevation for my hips. And then feet are down on the floor. That way, you know, if you're here, you can tilt your hips slightly forward off the edge. And that just creates a more natural S-curve in your spine. And it's going to let your hips be able to relax a bit. My knees still don't touch the ground. Like, that's not necessarily a goal or anything. But if you're feeling yourself up here and like the inside of your hips start getting tired, then it's probably because you don't have the support that you need from the ground. So just try this little elevation trick, and you'd be surprised. Little details make a big difference in a practice like this. So seated up nice and tall, like there's a string pulling you up from the crown of your head towards the sky. Heart comes over hips, head over heart. We're in alignment. Hands come to rest on the lap or the knees. Palms down to ground down, or palms up to give and receive energy if you feel you've got a little extra to give today. You can close your eyes if that's comfortable. If not, a soft gaze just beyond your nose to the ground is just fine, not looking at anything in particular. We'll begin with 3 cleansing breaths. In through the nose and an audible sigh out the mouth. On the inhale, shoulders rise up towards the ears, and on the exhale, the shoulders drop down. And let the breath continue in and out through the nose, returning to a natural breath's pace. We'll take a moment here to arrive. Let go of everything that came before and everything that's to come up after. Become present to yourself here in this moment, here in this space. Begin to allow sounds into your awareness. Not searching for sounds, just allow them to come to you. Allowing all sounds in all part of this moment, this experience. Notice the temperature of the air on your skin. Feel the weight where your body makes contact with the ground below you. The weight of your hands on your legs. Just get a general sense of how the body feels right now. Heavy or light, achy or at ease. And we begin to scan the body from head down towards toes, checking in for any places of tightness or sensitivity, any restlessness or fidgeting. We'll use this information to work into those spaces throughout our movement practice today. We'll shift that awareness from the body, Annamaya Kosha, to the energetic level, the Pranamaya Kosha. Just noticing where you're at energetically on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being exhausted, fatigued, ready to crawl into bed. 10 being so full of energy, it's hard to sit still. Begin to notice the breath, the rise and fall of the body. No need to change the breath, just observing inhale, exhales, and whatever space in between. Just noticing the quality of the breath, how deep or shallow, smooth or staggered. We bring the attention up to Manomaya Kosha, the mind.
allowing thoughts and feelings to arise here freely for a few moments. Just allow the mind to wander with no need to engage. Just observe the thoughts from a distance. And then notice, what are the quality of the thoughts today? Do they have a positive or a negative tilt to them? Are they ruminating on the past or attempting to predict the future? Not right or wrong, not good or bad, just something to notice. We'll bring the attention back down to the breath. This time actively expanding the breath. Every inhale sips in a little more air. And every exhale lets something more go. Inhales fill belly like a balloon expanding. Exhales drop belly button in towards spine. Inhales fill belly and ribs with air, ribs expanding out to the sides. Exhales release ribs and belly contract. Inhale, inflating belly, ribs, and chest. Whole torso filled with air. Exhale, releases chest, ribs, belly, deflating. Following the breath like this, belly, ribs, chest. Exhaling, chest, ribs, belly. If you're having a challenging time isolating the breath in those parts of the body, you can move your hands along until you feel that lift, that drop. The rise and fall of your breath. Invite some space between top and bottom teeth. Just let the jaw relax. All the muscles of the face relax as you continue to focus on this breath. It's called Dirga Pranayama, 3-part breath. So pranayama, so it translates from the Sanskrit in India, right? So prana, it can be translated to breath, but really it's more like energy. And yama is restriction. So it's a way of guiding the breath, but also guiding the energy. How we breathe correlates to how much energy we're feeling in the moment. How much energy we need. Just think about how different your breath is upon waking up in the morning, after a good night's sleep, versus waking up in the middle of the night after a nightmare. And breath changes according to the circumstance. In the practice, the exercise of pranayama, we change the breath purposefully to change the state of the body. So that relationship can go both ways. Build this relationship with the breath, build a relationship with the body. build a relationship with the mind as well. Because as it wanders, we bring it back to the breath and body. And the next time you exhale, just releasing that effort from the breath, returning to a natural pace. No need to force it or restrict it in any way. You might just notice any changes from this observance of the breath from the first one when we first sat down. We'll bring our hands to meet at heart center, palms pressed together in Anjali Mudra. No space between the fingers and the thumbs pressed into the sternum. Consider here setting an intention or a dedication for your practice. Your reason for showing up to the mat today, whatever first comes to mind. And we'll seal that intention with the sound of Om. You're invited to chant along with me, of course. First, a cleansing breath. Allow your hands to release to your lap, chin drops towards chest, and on an inhale, right ear rolls over towards right shoulder. Exhaling, chin to chest, and left ear rolls towards left shoulder. Just gently allowing the head to roll side to side like this, connecting to your own breath's pace. Elijah, hello. Functional alcoholic here. Hello from the Pacific. Oh, bonus, Oscar, if you chanted Om into the ocean. I hope you have a great day at work. I don't know if you still have service. But I love the idea of you doing yoga on deck right now. Definitely will be a challenge for the balance poses out at sea. Well, maybe every pose is a balance pose out at sea. Even Tadasana, just standing, huh? Good to have you, my friend. So here, the next time the right ear rolls over the right shoulder, we'll hold it there. Bring the right hand on top of the left side of the head. Just allow the weight of the arm to be enough, no need to pull. Hello, Daryl and John Bailey on Facebook. Hello. Left arm reaches away. Actively reaching through the fingertips, and then slowly lower the arm. Fingertips reaching towards the ground. They don't have to touch. I prefer actually keeping them a little bit elevated because then I get to keep that stretch, keep that pull. So I'm really trying to open up the space on the side of the neck, right, where like the ear connects to the shoulder, if you will. It's like the trapezius muscle. Give the head a little nod, yes. You can really find where the sweetest part of that stretch is. Once you find it, you can just breathe in stillness there. Really let this right shoulder relax and melt away. No need to squish it up. We'll release the hands to the lap. Roll the chin down through the chest. And left ear over left shoulder. Left hand comes to land on top of the right side of the head. Once again, no pulling, just the weight's enough and the left shoulder melts away. Right arm reaches away and then slowly lowers down. So you might find one angle, one side's different than the other in angle. That works best. Give the head a nod, yes. So there's a lot of, I guess, conversation about balance and like evenness in yoga, or in yoga classes, I should say, that I've been to. And once you find that spot that feels good on this side, just hold it there, and the breathing continues. So we'll hold body poses, but we're not going to hold the breath. And I think an important fine print note to that is that balance in the body does not necessarily mean symmetry. We don't treat our bodies symmetrically the rest of the day, so to force it to respond or act symmetrically during our yoga class is a disservice to reality. I think it is. Let's release the hands back down to the lap, roll the head down through chest, and bring it up to neutral. Okay, we're gonna roll out. Let's actually warm up our shoulders a bit too. Just rolling the shoulders forward here, working up to, into the space in the upper back, the space between the shoulders. We'll roll the shoulders back, opening up the space around the collarbones and the chest. So we just start every yoga class with some dynamic movement. Right? Not any deep stretches or any crazy poses. Just kind of need a head to toe shakeout, if you will. Like it's almost like reconnaissance, where we're scoping out. You know, how are the shoulders feeling? How's the neck feeling? Right, coming to stillness here. We're going to come into head wave or neck waves. I'm going to turn to the side so you can see, but you can stay facing forward. I'm just turning aside so you can kind of see the demonstration a bit better. Still seated up nice and tall from the shoulders down, we're not moving. And chin drops down towards chest, nose reaches towards the ground, forward, up towards the sky, back behind to the wall behind, and chin tucks back in. So I'm making a circle with my nose, slowly and intentionally, moving to the very furthest edges of my range of motion, just moving your head and neck. So breathing fully here. Sometimes we have a tendency to hold the breath when we're thinking and moving the body, but just remember, breath is the third part of that. So really keeping the moving slow and smooth. We'll change directions. Now imagine your chin is reaching up towards the sky, forward towards the wall in front, down towards the floor below, and scoop the chin in. We're going in reverse here. So this movement helps open up new patterns of movement, opening up a new range. When we don't tell our body to do certain things, if we take the time to move our body through certain movements, we open up access to that in the body. Coming to stillness, back at center. So, for example, if we're feeling stiff, so like if your neck is feeling stiff, what is the opposite of that stiffness would be openness, right? So kind of the remedy to that is some movement. Okay, one more neck thing here. We'll bring index fingers to the jawbone just below the ear. And then just move the fingers an inch away. And we're going to slide the head side to side. Mindful not to lift and drop the shoulders. We're just letting the shoulders be relaxed. And the other thing that often happens is we turn the head like you're shaking your head no. And actually you want to keep the face facing forward inside the head only. My friend Rome taught me this. He's like got all of these great neck health movements that he was able to overcome an injury with the help from. So blessed to say I didn't have a neck injury, but I definitely was experiencing a lot of neck pain, and he just showed me this handful of movements that for the past year and a half, really since like quarantine started, that have helped my neck pain so much. So okay, so if this is really difficult or you're finding it frustrating, just bring the fingers closer, like a centimeter. I know it's metric, it's not easy, but it's really close. And if you feel like you've got space, bring fingers further. Shoulders stay relaxed, still breathing fully. For 3, 2, 1. All right, back to center. Just shake it off a bit. Look left and right, left and right. Okay. We'll inhale, arms sweep up overhead. And exhale, right hand releases down, left arm reaches over. Side bend. Inhaling up through center and exhale over to the left. Jay Bartlett on Facebook. Hello, friend. So we're just following the breath here, in to rise and out to bend. Hope all is good. All is good. Do you have a schedule for your yoga classes? Yes, every Sunday at 8:30 a.m. Pacific. Every Sunday at 8:30 a.m. Pacific, we gather here on the internet to sit in stillness for meditation and then to flow through yoga. So you're invited. And the next time your right hand releases down to the mat, your left arm's reaching over in this side bend, we'll stay here and the breathing continues. So maybe that bottom arm has space to bend. We're deepening it even more, but the left hip, like the left butt cheek, stays glued to the ground, so don't lift that up. Maybe the elbow comes down to the ground. Once again, elbow to the ground, knees to the ground. These are not goals, they're just options. You just want to get to the deepest expression of your pose where you're still breathing. And really press your ribs up. So I think it's easy to imagine, okay, I need to bend more to get a deeper bend, like shoulder towards the ground. But actually, I want you to think about ribs towards the sky. So see, I can be here. Okay, nice stretch. Or pressing the ribs towards the sky, be here. And that's really more so the intention of this pose is a side lateral body stretch, side body stretch. Let's give ourselves a big backstroke here. Just want to notice how your hand has to turn to accommodate for this backstroke. So, for example, just turn your palm so that it's facing your head, right? And then see if you can keep it face that direction. Nope, eventually you're going to have to turn it to accommodate. So eventually there'll have to be a movement in the wrist to accommodate that shoulder revolution. Alright, let's bring it over to the other side. There's nothing more to that. There's no like, I just think that's really interesting how our bodies work, and I think it's a good time to explore that. So here we are, leaning over to the left side. Okay, great. I'm just going to put that chat down. You might bend in the elbow. You might reach the elbow to the ground. One side can be different than the other. Often it is. Remember, right hip's glued to the ground. So if it's popping up, it's defeating the purpose. Just back off a bit so the hip can stay pressed down.
rib cage pressing up towards the sky. Give the shoulder, the arm a big circle back strokes. Side bends, I feel like they're fairly underrated considering how much they can really open up for your body. I think they're not like as flashy and Instagrammable as back bends. They're not like as obvious, and first thing you think of stretching is like a forward fold, like touching your toes, your nose like a marker of whatever it was in public school when you were a little kid. But side bends have so much magic to them because they're opening up these intercostal muscles. That's the space, the muscles between your ribs. And your ribs house, yes, your heart, but also your lungs. Your lungs, the more space they have, the more mobility in your rib cage, the deeper breaths you can take. We all know how good taking a deep breath feels, so more access to more space, like more real estate in that area is a great thing. Let's bring it back up through center, take a deep breath in to reset, and exhale, twist over to the right. Left hand lands on the right knee, right hand lands on the ground behind you, and the chest twist open towards the side wall. Inhale, back up through center, and exhale, twist left. Right hand to left knee, left hand on the ground behind you. Back up through center. Exhale, twist right. So it's not the deepest twist of your life. Just, waking the body up to this motion. Any more twists in our future. There's nothing to prove here. We just got one more to each side. Arms up through center, and then bending in the elbows, forearms come to touch, fingers interlace, and just roll the wrists out like making a figure 8 or an infinity sign. A little wrist flossing, change directions. Shake off water, nice and gentle. Okay, let's extend the legs out. You were just seated that whole time cross-legged. That's some serious endurance. And if you weren't, you changed orientation of the cross of the legs, or you had to change the positioning, that's totally fine. I did like 3 times. Right, we're just building that endurance, building that that sitting power. So the legs are extended out. Let's spread and scrunch the toes, roll out the ankles. We think that yoga is about being able to move more gracefully, with more ease, change directions with the ankles. Of course it is, but it's also about being able to sit in stillness with more ease. In fact, that was like the whole goal of it in the beginning is just to serve your meditation practice. You just move a lot through yoga so that you can sit longer in meditation. So, you can take that as you will, apply it to your modern day life. Bend in the knees, feet come like max distance apart. We'll drop the knees side to side. Let the feet be far enough away that the legs don't stack. Instead, they make like a letter Z on the ground. So whether it's sitting longer, or I don't even want to say like sitting longer, it's like about time, but sitting less painfully. So with less pain, I think if we get to navigate our life with less pain in our physical body, if any of that at all is avoidable, then that is going to be a great benefit from yoga. All right, next time the knees fall over to the right, we'll bring the hands to frame the right knee and press it up to tabletop pose. That's better. So, in tabletop,
Hands are below the shoulders. Knees are below the hips. On an inhale, belly drops, hips and chest rise for cow pose. Exhaling, round in the spine, chin tucks in towards chest, pressing the ground away, rounding in the spine. Inhale, belly drops, hips and chest rise. Exhale, rounding in the spine, chin tucks in towards chest. Just continuing at your own breath's pace here. Allow your movements to be informed by the length of your breath, so that the speed of your body matches the speed of your breath. The next time you exhale through cat pose, releasing to neutral, back to tabletop. Inhale, the right arm sweeps open to the sky. And exhale, weave it through underneath for thread the needle pose, releasing your right arm to the ground and the right side of your head to the ground. Hips stay over the knees, so there's like a perpendicular relationship from my thighs to the ground. And the left hand presses into the ground to help twist the chest open. So right now my shoulders are facing the ground, and I'm opening my shoulders to face my chest towards the side wall. It's like I'm trying to get the left shoulder over the right shoulder. So you feel a twist in the spine. The bottom arm, we're going to press strong into the ground, kind of varying the pressure of the right hand pressing into the ground to find where the nicest part of the stretch is on that right shoulder blade. Or maybe you feel on the side of your neck. Option here to take the left arm and extend it forward. So I'm just pressing the palm into the ground. We're fully breathing here. Bring the hand back in front of the chest if you've moved it, and like pressing rewind, sweep the right arm open to the sky and place it down to the mat tabletop pose. I'm just going to turn directions so I can keep talking towards the mic. Left hand sweeps open to the sky, and exhale, weave the hand through, landing the left arm and left side of the head onto the ground. So again, we're keeping the hips over the knees. Right hand's pressing into the ground, so it's more like we're trying to get our right shoulder over the left shoulder. And we're doing that by pressing the left arm into the ground. So just notice how that affects your left shoulder blade, your left arm. Also an option here to extend the right arm overhead, pressing the palm into the ground. Thread the needle pose. So we're breathing fully here, even in the contortion of the pose, even in a twist, with the arm crossed in front of the chest. We find a way to breathe fully. Bring the hand back in front of the face, left arm sweeps open to the sky, and place it down for tabletop pose. And turn back to the side. Now, the right foot will step forward between the hands. Left foot steps forward between the hands, and heel to the feet out to the edges of the mat. So toes can come off the edge, heels stay on. We'll bend deep in the knees, let the hips drop, chest rise, the deep squat, malasana pose, and extend the legs, forward fold. So it doesn't have to be the deepest squat or deepest forward fold of your life. We're going between the two. Deep squat, forward fold.
no need to force anything. No need to come to fully extended straight legs or fully bent knees. Just working the edges. Alright, well, that's how far that's gone. So, we're just working the edges of that range of motion. Next time your legs are extended long, for that forward fold, it's okay if the knees don't need to lock out. You can have a little bend to them here, even a big bend here. Give the head a nod, yes. Shape, no. Let the head be heavy here. We're using the weight of the head and shoulders to elongate the spine. You can grab opposite elbows to create like a frame for your head. Here we are in ragdoll. You might give yourself a sway side to side. So if you're just feeling it in the backs of your legs, like your hamstrings or the backs of your knees especially are like yelling at you right now, just give the knees a deeper bend. Let the stretch be in the spine. Let it be in the back. So it's just a little free movement in ragdoll, as the name implies. You kind of move the way that's going to work for helping achieve that intention of letting the back relax in this first major forward fold. We'll find our way back to center. Release the hands. Heel toe the feet together. So now the big toes are touching. There's a little space between the heels. You can step up to the top of the mat. If you're in the middle, you just want a little space behind you. Inhale to a halfway lift. Hands come onto the shins. It's like you're making the number 7 with your body. So hips are reaching back behind you. Head is reaching forward ahead of you. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale rolls you all the way up to stand, one vertebra at a time. Heavy head comes up last. This is Tadasana. So palms by the sides, palms facing forward, like the anatomical man, like Da Vinci's anatomical man, Vitruvian man, if you will. Or just stacked. This is called Tadasana. You're pressing your feet actively into the ground. All 4 corners is what's usually said. So as soon as you start thinking about that, just notice how you begin to sway. As soon as you try to find yourself in perfect stillness. Which really begs the question, are we ever actually in stillness in the rest of our lives? Or do we take for granted that natural sway? Take a deep inhale and arms sweep up overhead. Eyes follow the fingertips. On an exhale, bend in the knees and forward fold. Inhale to a halfway lift, hands on shins. And exhale, hands release down to the mat. Right foot takes a giant step back. So to take this nice big step back, the trick is to bend in the left knee. So when that knee is bent, you have more space to step back than with a straight knee. We scooch it back until the knee is directly over the ankle. We're stacking our joints for safety, for stability. Let's release this right knee down to the mat, nice and gentle, and point the toes. Placing that foot back down onto the ground. Light on the fingertips, so we don't be like sinking all that weight into the wrists. Hey, war bros, war heroes, not war bros. I'm gonna call you that now. How are you? And we're gonna press the top of the foot, so the shoelace part of the foot, into the ground so hard that the knee lifts. And gently lowers down. So we're pressing strong, strong, strong into the ground with the top of the foot, breathing fully here. Doing great, super, just enjoying this Saturday morning. So we're breathing fully. We're here for more than a breath. Really pressing the top of the foot into the ground. Just feel stretching the whole front side of the body. Then release the knee down to the mat. Bring the hands to the inside of the left foot and heel toe the left foot just a couple inches or a couple steps to the left. You can angle the foot so that the toes are facing the top left edge of the mat, so like a 45-degree angle. Okay. And then we're going to let the knee splay open. So we're rolling onto the pinky side edge of the left foot. Just listen. You want to listen to your hips over my voice for sure. Intensity, something worth exploring. Sharp pain, maybe, not so much. So want to just let that knee fall open and bring it in closed. Open and closed a couple times, and then we let it stay open. It's called lizard pose, and we just let ourselves breathe here. Warriors. I'm so tired because yesterday afternoon I was doing 3 hours of ballet dance lesson. Oh wow, yeah, that sounds like a really intense session. And recovery is really important. 3 hours can feel like a really long time to be doing something, but as our bodies get used to it, as you practice and practice more and more, it becomes less of a shock to the system. So if you still have space to stretch here, you might even come down onto your forearms. But there's not even the goal. There's always more. I promise. Every time it's like, oh, like the ultimate move, the ultimate pose, like that only exists in video games. It like really, really doesn't exist in the rest of our lives or in yoga especially. Let's bring it back up to hands if you are down on forearms. Bring the knee back over the ankle, heel toe the foot back to center. We'll tuck the right toes under and extend the leg straight. So I'm pressing my heel back to straighten out the leg. Two options. Sweep the arms up for high lunge, or you can bring the hands onto the thigh as like a step in between for stability. So in this high lunge, my feet are actively pressing into the ground, left hips pulling back, right hips pulling forward. So the tendency for the hips to want to splay open here, and instead I want like a closed hip situation where the hip bones are both facing and the same distance to the short end of the mat. So if there were strings attached to the wall in front of you, they'd be the same length. You can even bring your hands onto your hips to kind of verify that. Shoulders are up over the hips. If that is not happening right now and you're forward, you can't get your shoulders up over your hips in this position, then the trick, or one way to get there, is to give a bend to the back knee, and that's going to give you space to bring your shoulders up over your hips. Why is that? Probably because the front of your right thigh is too tight, or your right hip flexor is too tight to get that back leg straight. So it's just something to notice. It's a fact, not a judgment, right? So an observation rather than a judgment. So it's cool. You just realize like, okay, I have more hip flexor work to do in my life. Dope. Okay, so let's drop the right heel down and extend the left leg straight. So right toes are facing the long side of the mat, and left toes are facing the front short side of the mat. Left arm reaches, right arm reaches towards the sky, left hand down towards the ground. So we're reaching in opposite directions. The right elbow bends and hand comes to the back of the head. Left elbow bends, hand comes to the lower back. So you can be here and just pressing into the head and lower back. Press pressing my elbows back behind me. Yeah. So from the side. Pressing the elbows back. From here, you can work your hands in towards one another. The closer you get, the more likely it is that your elbows are going to come forward, and I just want you to keep especially that right elbow pressing back. Maybe your hands even reach, they can clasp, but not at the sacrifice of the integrity of the pose or the integrity of the breath. So if doing something takes your breath away and you can't seem to find it again, then just back off a smidge. Deep breath in here and out. Let your left hip drop down. So right hip pops up, left hip drops down. And you can side bend here to get an even deeper stretch on that right side body. So it's a variation on triangle pose. Triangle with archer arms. We've got one deep breath here. Bring it back, upright. Release the hands. Right hand releases down, left arm reaches up towards the sky. And exhale, cartwheel the arms down, bending in the left knee to come back to that runner's lunge. Step the left foot back to meet the right in your plank pose. We'll take a deep breath in, rolling onto tiptoes. And an exhale, lower down slowly, halfway. And pressing it forward to upward facing dog. Tops of the feet press down onto the ground, shoulders pull back. Squeeze the glutes to protect the lower back. Alternately, your thighs, your legs can be on the ground. Walk your hands a handprint forward. And just a little bit forward, bend in the elbows, and pull the shoulders back for Bhujangasana Cobra pose. So this is one of those poses that's going to help open up the front side body. Those hip flexors, right, that we spoke about earlier. Deep breath in. Let it go. Another breath in. And hands press into the ground. Toes tuck under. Send the hips up and back behind you for downward facing dog. First downward dog of class, maybe even of the day. It is for me. We'll bend one knee and then the other. Kind of working our way into this pose, into the shape of the pose. Hips are pressing up and back behind you as if your hips are going to touch where the back wall meets the ceiling. Heels are pressed down towards the ground, regardless if they touch or not. That's just the direction that they're headed. The head be heavy, chest be heavy. And we'll bend deep in the knees, look up between the hands, and you can tiptoe the feet forward all the way to the hands, or give yourself a little froggy hop. Maybe it's a couple hops. Tiptoeing, making your way to the front of the mat, however you prefer. Big toes come to touch. Inhale to a halfway lift, hands on shins. Exhale, forward fold. And inhale rolls you all the way up to stand. Arms sweep up when you get there. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale to a halfway lift, hands on shins. Exhale, hands release down to the mat. Left foot takes a giant step back. So remember, both knees bend. The left leg gets sent back, landing softly. And then wherever you land, you just scooch it back to get the knee over the ankle. Release the knee onto the mat, nice and gentle. Untuck the toes, tops of the feet. The shoelace part of the foot's pressing into the ground. Light in the hands, so you might just need to lift off for a second just to reset. And press the top of the left foot into the ground so hard that the knee lifts. So you might release down and just come up once or twice just to find that motion. Mindful here not to roll over the ankle towards the pinky side edge. You're really pressing into the center of the foot, or even towards the big toe more so. So I'm really pressing into the ground, really straightening out the left leg. And Another deep breath here. We'll gently release the knee down to the mat. Bring the hands to the inside of the right foot and heel toe the foot 1 or 2 footsteps to the right. Foot ends up in a 45-degree angle towards the right front right corner, top right corner of the mat. And then we can drop the knee. I'm going to come to an angle just so you can see. Drop the knee open. Wait, does that help at all? There we go. Open and close. So I'm rolling onto the pinky side edge of the right foot and then bringing the knee back towards the shoulder. Dropping the knee open towards the side and bringing it back in. I'm not really dropping it, right? I'm only very intentionally moving it nice and slowly and mindfully, but you know what I mean. And then we'll allow the knee to stay splayed open like this on the pinky side edge of the right foot. Lizard pose. Option here to release onto the forearms. One side might be different than the other, and also the body's a lot more warmed up than it was when we did the first side. So you might find, you might be surprised at what you find in this pose. Breathing fully here. Just inviting some relaxation, however small it may be, 0.5 percentage point into the body with every exhale. We'll bring the hands back underneath the chest if it wasn't there already. Bring the knee back over the ankle, heel to the foot to the inside of the hands. Left toes tuck under and press into the ankle to the point that the knee lifts and leg straightens. You're coming up to high lunge, either using that thigh as a step or sweeping the arms up overhead. Knees still over ankle, shoulders come up over the hips. So I'm actively pressing through this heel to straighten out the legs. It's like I'm trying to get the back of my knee to touch the sky. If this is an obstruction to you being able to get the shoulders up over the hips, bring a little bend to that back knee. So, right at first glance, it might sound like that's less advanced to have the back knee bent. Like the right way of doing it is to have the legs straightened, but everybody just even if you don't need to, just bend that back knee to get the shoulders up over the hips. And just notice how much quicker this back leg fatigues. It's a lot quicker than having the legs straight. So even though the straight leg version actually brings more stretch and flexibility, or it like requires more flexibility to achieve or to get into, the bent knee variation actually requires more strength to be able to maintain. So no matter what variation you're in this pose or in any, there's a benefit to being in it. No effort is wasted in yoga. Arms up overhead. Exhale, shoulders relax down. Right hips pulling back, left hips pressing forward. Squaring the hips for this high lunge. Let's drop the left heel down and extend the right leg straight. So, right toes are facing the short end of the mat. Left toes are facing the long end of the mat. Left hand reaches up towards the sky. Right hand reaches down towards the ground behind that leg. Bend in the left elbow to bring the hand to the back of the head. Bend in the right elbow to come to the lower back. Press into the body to pull the elbows back. And an option here to work the hands in towards one another. Maybe when they grip, one side might be different than the other. Once again, that's not the goal, it's just a direction to head. More importantly, the elbows are pressing back behind you. We'll drop the right hip, popping the left hip up. Deep breath in. On the exhale, bending from the waist here. So here we are with a deep side body stretch, pressing strong into the legs. Keeping the chest open to the long side edge of the mat. One more deep breath here. Bring it back up, right? Nice, release the hands. Right arm reaches towards the sky, left hand reaches back, down towards the ground, reverse triangle, and exhale, cartwheel the hands down, bend in the front knee, hands come down to frame the front foot, stepping it back to plank pose. Straight line from the heels to the crown of the head. Inhale, shifts you forward to high plank. And exhale, lower down, try to round the lowering down just halfway. Or pressing it forward for upward facing dog. Or releasing the hips down for Bhujangasana, cobra pose. If you're an upward facing dog, right, now both feet are pressed into the ground, but the knees are lifted off the mat. So the backs of my knees are really pressed up towards the sky, if you will. Squeezing the glutes to protect the lower back, pull the shoulder blades back. Deep breath here, either variation. And then downward facing dog, hips press up towards the sky. Heels release down towards the mat. And just rearrange to find the spacing that I prefer with the feet. Deep breath in through the nose, audible sigh out the mouth. Looking up between the hands, step, hop, or tiptoe up to the top to have your feet come to meet your hands at the top of the mat. Big toes come to touch. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. And inhale rolls you all the way up to stand. Arms sweep up when you get there. And exhale, hands to heart center. Turn to face one another. Okay. So I felt a little heat there. Let's just like shake it out a bit. So just give the hands a shake, foot a shake. Build up a little heat there, so hope you guys did too. Now we're coming to like our actual shaking practice. It's called lymphatic shaking. So it's a bend in the knees. We lift and drop the heels to create this reverberation. I always get my shoulders in on it. It also like helps build momentum, so there's like less effort that has to go into actually doing the thing because your body just kind of automatically does it. You can also like actually be hopping. Got the energy, go for it. So it's really no like right way of doing this. You just want to let your body be able to jiggle and shake freely. Definitely no right way of how it's supposed to look or anything like that. We're really just releasing tension, keeping that heat going in the body. So we're building up heat this whole time with those high lunges and plank poses. Great job today, by the way. But so we just want to keep that nice warmth in the body before we head down to the mat for some longer, deeper stretches, some longer held poses. And then of course we'll cool down with our shavasana, our final relaxation, meditation and stillness. So we just want to keep this warmth going and also use this to just shake off any tension or anything that doesn't serve you. So any frustrations or preconceived notions, limiting beliefs, you don't have to think of anything specifically. So this whole time we've been breathing in and out through our nose. Now I just invite you to audibly sigh out your mouth. Like the more dramatic, the better for real. We just got another like 30 seconds here. So it's called a lymphatic shake because it helps drain your lymphatic system in the body, which is dependent on movement for proper functioning, removing toxins out of the body on a physical, actual, scientific level, removing toxins out of the body on a spiritual level too. You can think of it that way. if that's your jam. It's my jam. If that's not your truth, that's cool. But on a scientific level, we are actually helping move toxins out of the body. So that's pretty cool. 3, 2, 1. Come to stillness. Just feel that tingling in the fingertips, that warmth in the body. We'll move into our breath of joy. So breath of joy is a breathing exercise. It has 4 parts. It's 3 sips of air in that equal 1 big inhale. So it's a third of the breath in, arms sweep up. A third of the breath in, arms sweep out. A third of the breath in, arms sweep up. And a big ha out the mouth. And arms sweep back. So it's in through the nose, and a big ha out the mouth. Just like yell it out, just like take up space audibly, just be loud, in other words. We got about 10 rounds of this. So feet are about shoulders distance apart. We'll bend in the knees. In, ha, in, ha, in, ha. Ha! 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 3 more if you haven't joined in yet. Now's your chance. Ha! Ha! Last one, make it count. Ha! One hand on the belly, one hand on the heart. Let your eyes close if that's comfortable. Just take a moment here to observe. Feel what was created, what shifted during that exercise. Maybe an increase in heart rate, an increase in body temperature. But what else shows up for you? When you're invited to take up space, to be loud, to jiggle, move freely. Or what shows up as resistance to fully participating? Not right or wrong, not good or bad, just something to notice. Let your hands release down. You might take a sip of water, towel off any sweat that built up. Right. So if you're already down on your mat, you just stay there. We'll meet you. If not, you can come down with me. Bring chat over too. Good? Too much. Too much, too little. So we're at the end of the mat. Inhale, arms sweep up overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands down to the ground, knees bent deep, 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 so deep that we come down to seated. Allow your feet to touch and knees splay open to the sides. Give the bottom of your feet a little bit of a massage. Just taking a moment here to signal to the hips that it's okay. This is intentional, nothing to fight against. We're just letting the hips gently splay open. It's called Baddha Konasana, bound angle pose. And then we'll get nice and tall. Grab the feet, ankles, or shins. Nice tall spine, deep breath in. Exhale, let's fold forward. Belly, chest, head. So option here is to just bring the arms forward, letting your body drape over your legs. Instead of thinking nose to toes, think like chest to heels. Alternately, if you want a bit more of a hip stretch, we did open the hips quite a bit today, so it could feel good to keep going with that, but don't feel pressured since we already did so much work on them. But grabbing the ankles and pressing the elbows into the knees. So as I pull my hands in towards my chest, the leverage of that is going to be pressing the knees down towards the ground. So my knees don't touch the ground. My goal isn't to get the knees to touch the ground. That's just the direction my knees are headed to get to my actual intention of the pose, which is to have a nice deep stretch for my hip flexors, or rather for my hips. So remember, it's like a chest to heels type direction for the body. Let the shoulders be relaxed in either variation. Just finding some stillness after all that shaking and moving and yelling. Find your breath in and out through the nose once more if that's available. Bring it back up to seated. Bring the knees over. M9 Easy. Hello, my friend. Welcome in. Welcome in. There's one more pose I want to do. Yeah, let's just go for it. Drop the knees to one side, and we'll come back to seated on the heels. Just sitting back like this. We're just here momentarily. So it's called Hero's Pose. So we're just sitting on my heels with space in front of me on the mat. Bring your hands behind you, fingers interlace, and then reach the fingers towards the toes. So I'm pressing my arms down, pulling my shoulders back. If your hands don't reach one another, you can get a belt or a towel or a bandana to close the gap. Deep breath in. Exhaling, we slowly come forward. If you want, you can watch me first and then come into it. I'll lead you guys verbally through it twice. Forehead comes to the mat nice and slow, especially if you're have like a more masculine figure and your shoulders are heavier than your hips. You really want to take that slow so you don't seesaw, like smash your face into the ground. You're not that far from the ground, so you won't smash into the ground. But so from the forehead, we roll onto the top of the head. This is the flat part of the head. So could you go further? Yes, but instead, we're going to keep just to the flat part of the head. You'll feel it once you've arrived. And then hips come up over the knees. And arms reach up towards the sky. Or the fist reaches up towards the sky. Maybe even it drops forward towards the wall in front, depending where your shoulders are at. So if you're seated right now in your hero's pose with fingers interlaced, you want to slowly come down, belly, chest, forehead to the ground. And then gently roll from your forehead onto the flat part of your head, lifting the hips towards the sky, bringing the hips up over the knees. Arms, hands lift up off of the lower back and towards the sky, or even forward towards the wall in front. Just finding that edge where the shoulders no longer have space, or like to the edge of your range of motion. So you just want to be playing with that edge here, just like finding it and breathing fully. No quick movements here. Yoga mudra, symbol of yoga pose. The heart is higher than the head. So it's an inversion. Oh, okay. Hi, Lucy. And then to come out of it, we're going to release the hands to the lower back. Gently release the hips back down towards the heels. Rolling up to the forehead and then coming back up super slowly. We don't want to head rush. Release the hands. So notice how it feels on the shoulders, maybe dropping ear to shoulder, ear to shoulder. How is that? Drop the hips to one side. Knees in towards the chest, and we'll gently roll back. Just giving the back a little rock side to side. Let the
knees fall over to the right. Arms open up like the letter T, palms face open to the sky. And I'm pressing the left shoulder down to the mat. It's okay if the knees don't touch or even touch the ground, they're just heading in that direction. Really just want to focus on stacking the left hip over the right hip here. And the right hand can land on the top of the left knee, just for weight, not pulling or anything like that. You can look over that extended left arm. Supta Matsyendrasana, supine spinal twist. Deep breath in through the nose. And let it go. We'll bring the head back through center, bring the knees in through center, and gently release the knees over to the left, stacking right hip over left hip. Left hand lands on the right knee. Right arm extends out. I'm pressing the right shoulder towards the ground. So I'm really trying to press this right shoulder into the ground. Really let the rest of the body be relaxed here. So really what's doing the work is gravity and breath. Every exhale lets your body be heavier, sink heavier into the ground. Just allow that assistance from gravity, from breath, to ease you into this shape, into this twist. So we've been putting in so much effort through class. So many postures, so much asana takes physical effort. And now here in these poses, it's a mental effort of release and surrender. Head comes back through center, knees come back through center. Just notice, is there any last movement or wiggle or pose that your body's asking for? And just freely moving through it. Doesn't have to have a fancy yoga name or anything like that. Just seeing if there's any last stretch or wiggle that's going to make your practice feel more succinct, more satisfying. Like any body part or pose you were looking forward to or wanting attention that you didn't quite address or that I didn't quite address. Just move through that now. All class, all day, we tell our body what to do, and now we just ask back, is there anything we can do for it? And as you're ready, we'll extend the legs down the length of the mat. Feet come at least a foot distance apart. Legs so relaxed that the feet naturally splay open. Tuck the shoulders under to support the chest and palms face open to the sky. A symbol, a mudra of receptivity. Allow yourself to receive the benefits of your effort here today. Eyes can close, head is neutral, it's not up on a blanket or a pillow or anything like that. And if you know laying like this is uncomfortable for your lower back, you have some lower back pain laying flat on the ground like this, bend your knees and bring your feet to the edges of the mat. Drop the knees together, lift and tuck the hips before placing them back down. So your lower back should be making contact with the earth. And then just let the lower body relax. This is called broken bridge pose. So in broken bridge or shavasana, it's corpse pose, or seated for your final meditation, we're setting up for our final relaxation practice. So this is a practice that's all about integration, surrender, release, relaxation. All like really triggering words for people who work really hard. And if you just worked really hard in that class, like if you just got through that whole class, you were definitely a person who works really hard. But I think that's kind of like the beauty of working hard. You get to work hard, you really know that you get to relax really hard too.
That wasn't the most poetic way of putting that, but my point is don't rob yourself of this opportunity to relax. You deserve it. So take a 3 deep breaths in through the nose and audible sighs out the mouth. Allow the breath to continue in and out through the nose, gently inviting the exhalations to become longer and deeper than your inhalations. Invite space between top and bottom teeth as the jaw hangs heavy and the tongue falls away from the roof of the mouth. Nose and eyes rest. Space between the eyebrows broadens as all the muscles around the forehead relax. Muscles in the top and back of the head release. Neck, shoulders melt away. Shoulder blades and the space between relax. Upper arms and elbows rest. Forearms and wrists release. And the palms, backs of the hands, knuckles, fingers, fingertips, fingernail beds, whole hands alive with vibration. Whole hands alive with creative potential. Rest and integrate all that you practice. Upper back, middle and lower back. Rest. Chest and belly naturally rise and fall with the breath. Hips, pelvis, glutes rest heavy, supported by the ground below. Thighs and knees melt away. Lower legs and ankles relax.
rests. Whole body rests. Whole body rests. Notice if in your mind, if only for a moment, that inner conversation quieted. Notice if in your breath there's ease. Notice if in your body the places of tension have found space. The places of restlessness have found peace. Allow for everything that did and did not happen in class today. And know that in yoga, practice makes practice. Nothing more, nothing less. Gently invite your inhalations to deepen as fingers gently wiggle and toes begin to curl. That feeling of heaviness replaced with the feeling of openness and expansion as head gently rocks side to side. Every inhale lifts you towards the surface as arms sweep up overhead for a full body stretch. Your knees bend and roll over to whichever side feels natural, landing in a fetal position. You can use that bottom arm as a pillow, fully released and fully supported by the ground below you. Bring to mind any intention or dedication you set for class today, or take this opportunity to perhaps set one now. And if that intention inspires you, take it with you off the mat and into the world. Allow it to affect you and the people around you for the rest of your day. With eyes still closed or gently lowered, press your hands into the ground to come up to a seated position. Just like how we started class. Hands will come to meet at heart center, Anjali Mudra. Today we worked on a series of shoulder and neck opening postures, as well as some deep hip opening as well. The first namaste is said silently to yourself, thanking your body for the effort it put into class. And the second namaste is said out loud to the community that held this space. Namaste. Thank you, thank you, thank you to everyone who joined me today. I hope you found something that serves you. I hope that your day is improved, that your day is improved for having spent some time some time here with me, with us today. Namaste, hey cool sword, I love you so much, Ben. So great to have you here. Evolve Yourself TV. That was a wonderful class, thank you. I've primarily been doing Bikram yoga for the last year, so this was a much needed change. Oh wow, well you're welcome, thank you for being here. You guys definitely motivate me to show up, that's for sure. You're welcome, thank you. Ravenfire says thank you. That was very refreshing. You're welcome, Ravenfire. I'm honored that you set an alarm to come to class. So great to have you. Evolve Yourself TV, but mostly been doing Bikram. So I used to teach at a Bikram studio. Well, legally it was a hot yoga studio because I never taught Bikram, and I didn't. But I taught hot power and vinyasa flow, and yeah, so I taught like hot vinyasa and hot power yoga, with a little more of a barking flair to it, but Bikram was definitely like the big draw for the studio. You're welcome, Lara4444. Linda, thank you for joining me, and it is so great to have you in class. I always enjoy everyone's presence. I know that probably sounds kind of funny because I can't see you guys, but I feel like just energetically, it's just a great collective of people today, you know? Evolve Yourself TV. Hero's Pose was a nice touch as well. Yeah, I'm sure that, in different classes that I teach, there's definitely poses that overlap. And that's why Bikram wasn't able to actually copyright the postures, but I got a lot out of my time. Probably about, I want to say, so it was 5 years that I taught at that studio, but I would say the year before that, so probably 4 years straight, I practiced Bikram. Not teaching, just practiced myself. And I thought that there was like a lot of benefit to having the same sequence every day. So you show up, the practice is the same, you're the one who changes. So I got to really become clear that I'm the one relating to this set sequence, not the other way around, which made me a lot more accepting of other classes that I went to. Sometimes I go to a yoga class with a new studio or a new teacher and be like, oh, that wasn't such a good class. But after practicing Bikram for 4 years, just realizing like, oh, it's not really about the teacher. It's not really about the class. It's about how my body, like how I'm relating today to that class. So it wasn't such a great class. Then I get to take responsibility for that instead of being like, oh, the teacher wasn't so great, or some sort of like external judgment. It's instead an internal self-reflection of, oh, my mind wasn't in it today, my body was tired, I didn't get good sleep, whatever, and not to like make excuses, but like just an observation of what may have happened there instead of, instead of being like, oh, that studio is not so good or that teacher's not so good. Oh no, it's not about good or bad, actually. That's great, the different types of yoga. M9 Easy, how are you? How are you, my friend? Great to see you. Yeah, I do, for sure. Yeah, I've been practicing, I've been studying and practicing yoga for 17 years, so gotten to practice. I've been blessed to have the opportunity to practice lots of different styles and lots of great studios and amazing teachers. And one thing I do when I travel is anytime I travel, I just try to find a yoga studio in the area and catch a class. So that also opens up the types of yoga I've been exposed to, because I haven't been limited to what my town or city at the time has to offer. Although now here I live in San Diego, and it's I think there's as many yoga studios as there are coffee shops. It's crazy. And I don't have a studio right now. The studio that I had been the brick and mortar studio that I had been practicing at closed during COVID, which is really sad. They're online now. So yeah. they were like one of the reasons I even stayed in San Diego. I always feel that way though. I always like make friends with yoga studio people. I'm always like lonely when I move to a new place, and then I join a yoga studio, and it's just like instant friends that are like-minded. I don't know, into movement, and spirituality, and I kind of love that. But I haven't joined another studio since I moved to this this part of town. I live like in a different area than I have for the last 2 years here, and we'll see. That's great. Do other teachers recognize how good you are? If you sneak into class as a student, how good I am. I'm not easy. What have we spoken about? There is no good or bad in yoga. I always like talking to the teachers when I go to a studio. I'm like, okay, this is me. Even like, not even just at yoga classes, even at like, I like other fitnessy things too. Like right now I'm like really into running, and I want to sign up for, there's a marathon and half marathon next month, and I've been training for it. So yesterday I ran 8 miles. I've run a half marathon before, but that was like back in March or maybe April. It was back in April. So I'm like been training for it. So for October 20, I think it's the 24th, like to get into it. But okay, so yeah, yoga's a constant in my life, guys. I'm always practicing yoga, but then I also am like, oh, I'll like get into these other things when it comes to like physical movement or exercise, however you want to think of it. So there was a period of time that I really got into HIIT, high intensity interval training, and it was offered at the yoga studio that I was at. So I used to go to the studio called Mosaic, and it was in Golden Hill, and then they like expanded or like doubled their area and like became Resilience instead, which like, okay, sure. And then like, so one room was yoga and one room was high intensity interval training, which a younger me would have been resistant to, because like, I don't know, I was like very like elitist about like what yoga can and can't be when I was like 14, which is what's called spoilers, not true. But I just got so into it. Like I just started taking HIIT classes, and I was like so into like so intense, and like you're allowed to talk during class, and I was like giving high fives to the people in my little like there's like lanes that you have to go down. So what I would do is because I really know mind body, which is like the software that yoga studios use to sign people in. I've just been on it for a decade. And so I'd sign in and then read all the other names on the list, and then like memorize it, because that's also what I did like for years. And then I'd go into class and like be like, hey, what's it called? Good job, Kevin, or like, Kylie, you're killing it. Like, I don't know. And so I'm like a pretty intense person. So yeah, I'm always like running around like motivating people. It's my jam. Amazing. Yeah, running backwards for a bit helps training also. Okay, running backwards, I don't have the confidence to do that, but I have been actively trying to walk backwards more often. And like that's really good for your joints and whatnot, and to like undo imbalances. So walking backwards, yes. Running backwards, I'm like not confident enough to do that out in the outside world, and I don't have enough space to do that here in my inside world. Evolve Yourself TV. I've been doing hot HIIT Pilates at my Bikram studio. I love it. That sounds so crazy. I would come with you. I would definitely go to that class. Every time people invite me to like crazy things, like back before, like when like Zumba was new, people used to always be inviting me to Zumba classes. I'm like, dancing's my jam. Like I love dancing, but like Zumba's not like super my thing. But every time I'd be invited to it for those 60 minutes, it is my thing. Like, you know what I mean? I can show up for anything and have a good time, if I'm invited. If I'm like choosing to go to something, then I've probably like done a bunch of research on it. Oh, Jay on Facebook. I don't know if you're
you're watching me or just privately messaging me, so I'm just going to answer you later if that's okay. Hope you're not offended by that. Yeah, hot hit Pilates, that just sounds insane. I've been invited to a bunch of Pilates classes too. And then what else? Bar classes, which is like ballet fitness or something like that. I've been to like half a dozen of those. I just think it's fun to mess around, you know. And I just like being invited to things that are activities. I feel very like I feel much more secure, confident in like activities, or like I'm more open to it, and I have more fun when it's like, hey, would you like to come take this, you know, hot hit Pilates class, or like want to go to a yoga studio with me? I'm like, yes. When people like want to hang out, I'm like, no. Like that's just like my initial gut reaction is like, no thanks, I'm good, because like ambiguity, you know. But that's why I have to say yes also, because it's good to step out of our comfort zones. Well, that being said, thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. Let's see. Oh, I Ping Tai Chi is on. I really love her vibe. So let's go over and say hi to well, thanks again for class. You're an excellent instructor. You're welcome. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. And I'll be back next Sunday at 8:30 a.m. Pacific. Yeah, so I'm just releasing all my recordings live now. Like I used to have, this whole thing. I was like, I need to pay for the recordings, but they're just live on my YouTube channel now. Not even edited or anything, so you can always link there to find classes throughout the week. Otherwise, I'll be here live on Sunday. Hey, Cool Sword, you too, you as well, my friend. Yeah, and I'm easy, see ya!